For 22 years, I built a life on silence. So when my wife stood before a judge and called me lazy, useless, a dead weight, I just stood there. I let her voice, sharp with practiced hurt, bounce off the mahogany panels of the courtroom. The man beside her, Brad, her attorney and her secret for 18 months, nodded along as if she were reciting scripture. 30 seconds later, the judge cleared his throat and read a single number aloud. My wife turned to ash. Her knees buckled so violently the bailiff jumped forward. That's how it ended, not with paperwork, or a slow drift, but with that number hanging in the air, in a room that smelled of lemon polish and old wood. Freeloader. The word, so carefully chosen, still hummed in my bones. I'd stood at the respondent's table, hands clasped, listening. Melissa, forcing a tremble into her voice. Brad, with his slick hair and monument carving tone, declaring my emotional neglect, my financial abandonment. He painted a picture of a ghost in my own home, a man who just existed. He asked for everything, the house, full custody, a reasonable share. She nodded, serene. My own lawyer, Richard, a man shaped by decades of other people's disasters, nudged my elbow. Easy, Henry. I wasn't angry, I was tired. The deep, structural tiredness of a man who confused providing with presence. Judge Cunningham, stern and fair behind his glasses, flipped a page, then another, his brow furrowed. He looked up, genuinely perplexed. Mrs. Lawson, Mr. Coleman, are you both aware Mr. Lawson reported a gross income of approximately $450,000 last year? The silence was absolute. The creaking benches stopped. The whispers died. Melissa blinked. I'm sorry? 450,000. The judge repeated, louder, and similar sums in prior years. Brad's face went slack. Melissa gripped the table as if the floor had tilted. The judge's voice was dry. An annual income of that nature is considered freeloading, now? A low ripple of laughter from the gallery. Someone muttered, I'd like to freeload like that. He never told me, Melissa whispered, her voice cracking. It was her first true sentence of the day. I finally looked at her. I saw the late-night drives, the coding until 2 a.m., the airport chairs, all the silent sacrifices I'd mistaken for love. She never asked. She never cared to know. The gavel cracked. We will reconvene in 2 weeks. This matter is far from settled. Outside, the Columbus wind carried the smell of coffee and bus exhaust, but all I heard was her voice. Dead weight. I took the long way home, past the Kroger of our old Sundays, the landmarks of a life now feeling like a museum exhibit. The house in Westerville was a shell, humming with quiet. I stopped at the gallery of photos on the wall. Christmas, graduations, a barbecue at VFW Post 4931. Our decay wasn't a quake. It was a subsidence, a slow, silent settling until the foundation split. The affair wasn't the cause. It was a symptom. The end began in the quiet hours I was away, in the turned backs in bed, in the conversations that became logistical updates. I noticed the new cologne, the flushed cheeks, the phone face down. I saw them once, by chance, in the silver Lexus pulling from an alley near an Airbnb. I sat in my car at a gas station, watching the neon hot dog sign glow, feeling not rage but a profound, hollow grief. The final thread snapped over a forgotten email auto-forward on our shared laptop. Brad's words, once we make him look broke on paper, the judge will have no choice. It wasn't just the heart they wanted. It was the legacy. They were fabricating a fiction of failure, erasing the man who'd built it all. Revenge didn't come. Purpose did. A cold, clear purpose. That night, I printed everything. The affection, the strategy, the lies, and then, the numbers. My domain. Deductions vanished. Income shifted. A signature that wasn't mine. They hadn't just crossed a marital line. They'd stepped into federal territory. The next morning, I took the papers to Tom Jensen, a CPA with a steady gaze. He examined them without a word, then set them down. Henry, he said, this isn't a mistake. This is intentional. You need a lawyer. A real one. I walked back out into the gray October light, the folder under my arm. The grief was still there, a stone on my chest for the life we'd once grilled burgers for, but beneath it, now, was a current of something else. They thought the judge's number was the surprise. They had no idea what was coming next. The October wind cut through the parking garage, sharp and clean. It didn't feel like an ending. It felt like a reset. As I sat in my truck, the engine off, a memory surfaced, not of Melissa, but of Jack Collins at the VFW fish fry, a retired Marine with eyes that missed nothing. He'd clapped me on the shoulder as I left. "When someone takes a swing at your honor, son," he'd said, "don't swing back. Just step aside and let the punch break their own hand." I'd nodded politely, thinking it was just another old proverb. Now, it felt like a blueprint. I drove to his ranch house near Inniswood. He answered the door, took one look at me, and said, "You look like hell walked over you. Coffee's on." In his kitchen, I slid the folder across the table. He read in silence, his reading glasses perched low on his nose. The only sound was the hum of the refrigerator and the slow turn of a page. When he finished, he pushed the folder back. "So," he said, his voice gravel, "they're not just digging your grave. They're planning to bill you for the shovel. Seems that way. And what do you want? To see them bleed?" I looked out his window at the neat, dormant garden. "I want the record to reflect reality. I want my daughter to know who her father really was." A slow, approving nod. "Good. Then don't raise your voice. Don't get dramatic. Just build a case so airtight they suffocate in it." The words landed not as inspiration, but as instruction. A case, not a feud, not a spectacle, a factual, documented, immovable argument. In that moment, the nebulous storm of hurt inside me crystallized into a checklist. The following days were spent in a methodical, almost monastic silence. While Melissa slept in the guest room, I worked. I became an archivist of our undoing. Bank statements, years of tax filings, work contracts, travel logs, phone records, a paper trail of a life built, and the digital fingerprints of those trying to demolish it. I bought a heavy 3-inch binder and tabbed it into sections: financial fabrication, coordinated strategy, the affair, witness corroboration. Each document was a piece of the truth, but slipping it into the plastic sleeve felt like laying a brick over my own heart. This wasn't just evidence. It was an autopsy report on a 22-year marriage. A soft knock broke my focus one night. Abby stood in the doorway, her face pale in the hallway light. "Dad? Mom says you're assembling a weapon to hurt her." The words were a physical blow. I closed the binder. "I'm assembling the truth, Abby. There's a difference." She hugged herself, looking younger than her years. "She sounds so scared." "I know," I said, my voice thick. "Sometimes people get scared when the lies run out." She lingered, a silent question in her eyes, before whispering good night. After she left, the quiet of the house seemed to press in from the walls. This was the cost. Every tab in that binder was a wall going up between me and the past, between me and the woman Abby still saw as her mother. But the alternative, letting their fiction become my daughter's reality, was a price I could not pay. 2 weeks later, the Franklin County Courthouse didn't feel like an arena. It felt like a clinic. The air was the same, stale coffee and industrial cleaner, but I was different. I carried the binder, its weight purposeful in my hand. Melissa and Brad were already at their table. The polished veneer was cracked. She looked brittle, her eyes darting. Brad's pen tapped a frantic, silent rhythm on his legal pad. His confidence had bled out. Judge Cunningham took the bench. "Let's proceed." Brad stood, launching into a weakened version of his narrative. "Your Honor, my client has endured a pattern of emotional absence and financial obscurity." The judge held up a hand. "Mr. Coleman, we've already established the profound oversight regarding Mr. Lawson's income. Today, I am more interested in how such an oversight occurred." His gaze was a spotlight. Richard Benton rose beside me, calm as deep water. "Your Honor, the respondent wishes to enter new evidence into the record, which we believe clarifies the nature of that oversight." A nod from the bench. The sound of the binder rings cracking open was the loudest noise in the room. Richard began, his voice a steady, factual drumbeat. Exhibit A series of emails between Mrs. Lawson and Mr. Coleman, demonstrating a coordinated strategy to misrepresent my client's financial status and parental involvement to this court. Melissa made a small, choked sound. Exhibit B falsified joint tax returns for the years 2021 and 2022, with discrepancies highlighting omitted income and forged signatures. Brad stopped breathing. Exhibit C. GPS data and corresponding credit card receipts, placing Mrs. Lawson at a short-term rental property with Mr. Coleman on 14 occasions she claimed to be visiting family. Exhibit D. Photographic evidence of the affair, automatically synced to a shared cloud storage account. Exhibit E. Sworn affidavit from CPA Thomas Jensen, confirming the intentional manipulation of financial documents. Richard closed the binder. Your Honor, this is not a simple marital breakdown. This is a conspiracy to defraud the court and undermine its ability to make a just ruling. The silence was absolute. Judge Cunningham removed his glasses, pinching the bridge of his nose. When he looked up, his eyes went first to Brad. Mr. Coleman, as an officer of this court, did you participate in the preparation or submission of these falsified returns? Brad's mouth opened, but only a dry click emerged. He looked like a man watching his own license to practice law evaporate. I counseled my client on her financial narrative. A narrative built on fraudulent documents? The judge finished, his voice icy. This court will be forwarding all materials to the Ohio Bar Association and the IRS Criminal Investigation Division. He then turned to Melissa. Mrs. Lawson, your credibility is obliterated. Attempting to perpetrate a fraud upon this court is a contemptuous act that fundamentally shifts the equities of this case. Melissa began to cry, a raw, ugly sound of sheer unraveling. Henry, I'm sorry, please. I met her gaze. There was no triumph there, only a profound sadness. The woman pleading with me was already a stranger. The rulings came down, clean and surgical. The marital home, purchased with my premarital assets and sustained by my income, remained mine. Custody, 50-50. Standard order. Melissa would be responsible for her own substantial legal fees. All claims for spousal support were denied, and Brad Coleman's professional fate was now in the hands of his peers and the federal government. It wasn't vengeance, it was arithmetic. The truth, once added to the equation, rendered their fiction zero. In the hallway afterward, Brad intercepted me. The sweat on his upper lip gleamed under the fluorescent lights. This isn't over, he hissed, the bravado a thin mask for his terror. You've made a powerful enemy. I studied him, the expensive suit, the desperate eyes, and saw not a powerful enemy, but a small man facing the consequences of his own shortcuts. No, Brad, I said quietly. I just removed the cover you were hiding under. The light's all yours now. I walked past him, past Melissa who stood weeping against the wall, and pushed through the heavy doors. The autumn air outside was cold and clarifying. The weight was gone. Not shifted, not shared, gone. In the weeks that followed, life didn't restart with a bang. It seeped back in, gentle and ordinary. Melissa moved out. Brad's firm scrubbed him from their website. I drank coffee at the same Tim Hortons, and the kid at the counter learned my name. One evening, over spaghetti, Abby looked at me. You're just steady, she said. I needed steady. It was the only verdict that ever truly mattered. I saw Jack Collins one last time at the VFW. He nodded at me over his plate of fish. Told you, he said, truth's a quiet friend, just stands behind you when it matters. Driving home that night, with Abby's light on in her window, I finally understood. Real revenge isn't about destruction. It's about restoration. It's the restoration of your name, your story, your peace. You don't have to burn down their house. You just have to turn on the lights in your own, and let everyone see the difference. The truth hadn't just spoken louder than their lies. It had built a wall around what was mine, and left them outside in the cold, with only the echo of their own fabricated world crashing down. And in that quiet, on the other side of the storm, I finally found my way home.